concerning thing because, in a sense, that's also reflective of the state of underdevelopment within our society. I said earlier on that the police is the police as an entity within society is the only instrument that we have that we use as society in the fight against crime and corruption, for an example. So essentially, if we kill the police, we're killing ourselves.
But criminals don't think that way.
Yeah, but criminals, who are they? They are bred by this very same society, by ordinary people. Some of them are our children, some of them are our whatever and so forth. And therefore, the question here largely is that there has got to be, and this is what we have been trying to do, to cultivate a sense of responsibility and ownership around the police. To then say, but these people who are doing their utmost best under very difficult conditions and so forth, they are doing so in furtherance of public interest. And whose public interest? Ours. And therefore, police are ours. And therefore, what we need to do is to work with them and assist them in achieving the best that they aspire to around the issues of policing and so forth. So it's very concerning that we have these particular spates of killings, and of course Gauteng has led the pack around the country insofar as police killings thus far and so on.
Well, incidentally, it's also Gauteng that released a statement this week saying that together with General Piega, they've finalized a comprehensive strategy to deal with this. Among the issues the strategy talks to, they say, continual situational awareness of members, training and utilization of personal safety gear. Do you think there's a problem still, a big problem, with the training of our officers?
Policing is a never, it's not static, because society is also not static. You will probably, if you were to sit and reflect and go back to what the nature of our crime was like in, let's say, the 80s, the 70s, and so forth. It used to be, the dominant factor perhaps was just, I don't want to call it ordinary crime or something, but it was at a particular level. But it has been evolving. Now, so what does that mean? It means on continual kind of basis, ourselves as the police must be subjected to continuous kind of training. So it's really a non-ending kind of thing. I mean,
remember, Mr. There's a history to our police that they were used to scope, skit, and donor, and not trained sufficiently. I guess the question one is asking is whether we've made progress in that regard.
No, progress has been registered insofar as updating the level of training and so forth on an ongoing basis. All I'm saying is that there are new trends that also creep in. For an example, let's take the issue of cybercrime. It's no one of us ordinarily thought would one day be faced with a phenomenon called cybercrime. Which means your form of training must also begin to speak to.
Is it speaking?
Some of those issues. But we're taking stock of these issues, of course, in terms of how do we capacitate our people to be able to cope with some of these particular matters and so on. So the question of training, when we talk of training, is not because we're not training. And it's not because training is insufficient. It's because in the nature of the conduct of policing work, is such that it's an evolving kind of subject matter and activity, given the fact that society is also not static.
One last issue, Minister. Recently when what happened to us happened, there was a reward. I've seen on social media people asking, who do you have to be for there to be a reward for the capture and conviction? Ordinary South Africans say things happen to them daily, but there are no rewards.
I suppose in society these matters will continue to to engage society in these kinds of debates about, what kind of weight do you give to a particular matter and to a particular sector and or people, for an example, and so on. The fact of the matter, though, is that I think we should try and galvanize our energy and efforts around two particular things in particular. One, of course, on the side of policing is a question of building adequate levels of capacity to be able to deal with issues of crime, including detection, for instance, amongst other things. The other is, of course, owning police at a community level, to then say these are our people and these are the people who are working for our safety and so forth, and therefore we work with them, we assist them in their work and so forth, and by so doing, it is the only way that can ensure, that will ensure the issue of the creation of a safe and security sort of environment wherever we live as ordinary South Africans.